So this is the latest episode of Fatherhood in Focus. I am Aidan, the founder of the Modern Fatherhood Club, and today we are simply talking about getting back on track. Because the reality is, the admission of any struggle is one thing. Getting back on track and staying on track and having the impact and the influence that you want to have over your family, well, that takes hard work, that takes guts, that takes perseverance, that is underpinned by resilience. Those are the things that set you apart. Those are the things that show that you lead by example. So when you fall, it's your ability to get back up, but it's your ability to stay up, keep moving forward, but learning from that setback, learning from that mistake so that you don't make it again. In April 2020, I was on the canvas. The count had started. I was lost. I had one chance, one shot to give my partner what she needed, to give my kids what they needed. I had to focus on what was important. But to stay on track, that's what takes the time. That's the commitment that's necessary. So you've got to have a structure, you've got to have a plan. Admitting that you're struggling is only the first step. Staying and moving forward in a positive light and influencing from that position of strength, courage and confidence. Well, that is the dad that shapes lives. That is the dad gives them what they need. This is Fatherhood in Focus. Let's get started. This is about rediscovering purpose and balance. Before we start, you really need to think about the work. Would you be prepared to answer these questions? What are my kids really going to remember about me? Am I guiding them or just reacting? What do I need to change so I don't burn out again? Look, I nearly lost everything. My focus, my connection, and most of all myself. But the most brutal part, I didn't even notice until it was already gone. If you're feeling off track, like the version of you your family sees isn't the man you promised to be, this one's for you. This isn't about judgment. This is about taking your power back. You don't have to do it all, but you do need to do something. If we break it down, we acknowledge the struggle. That's the first and the easiest step, and the one you've probably already gone beyond. Then we move on to unpicking the root causes. This is the hard work. This takes the effort, perseverance, and a willingness to answer the hard questions. Then we find the support to move on, move forward and try something different. Then finally, we've got to stay accountable, because without accountability, we're not moving anywhere fast. That last step, that's the one that demands the most attention. Why? Because you've got to have the motivation to make it happen. Let's take it back to April 2020, lockdown. I'm on paternity leave. I finally told my partner the truth about how badly I've been struggling. We're both raw. We're standing in the debris of what used to be normal life. No routine, no clarity, no blueprint. That's me, acknowledging the issue. My honesty with my partner allowed me to make that next step, which is unpicking the root cause. It wasn't being a dad or anything to do with the early pressures of being a dad. That change in my world just forced me to look at myself differently. I was always acutely aware of the pressure to make changes, but from the moment I'd thrown our relationship into temporary chaos, I knew I needed to take action. But where do you turn, and what challenges are on the horizon? You unburden yourself by sharing the detail of your struggle, but by doing so, she's expecting you to get to the bottom of the issues, get help, and start demonstrating that you're getting back on track. She wants to see results. And you've got to focus on the next steps and prove that you're committed to getting back on track. And that's where the challenge begins. I'd taken the first big step, being honest, but the weight didn't lift, it just shifted. Suddenly, I wasn't just holding pain, I was holding expectation. Now she needed to see those changes, and she needed to see them fast. But here's what they don't tell you. Change is messy. You don't fix years of burnout, shame or avoidance overnight. You've got to pick a starting point and move on. That's step 3. You've acknowledged, you've admitted it, started to think differently. Now she's going to expect results. And that is where accountability comes in. The reason why you chose not to open up is because you couldn't see where the support was going to come from. what you come to realise quickly is that once you've stepped over the threshold, there's no looking back. You've got to take that next step forward. Your partner not only expects you to find the courage to keep moving forward, but she and the kids need you to start finding solutions to the problems you've allowed to spiral out of control. The problem is there's not much support out there for you. However, your employer might offer a number of benefits that you can use to your advantage, like an employee assistance program. These are great, they are confidential, and you have access to it in your own time, and therefore you can keep the matter private whilst getting some support or simple advice on what to do next. You can also seek support from your local health professional or local mental health charity for guidance on the steps to take. And what's great about these two avenues is that there will be plenty of free resources you can tap into. Most importantly, of course, you can join the Modern Fatherhood Club. We've got the experience to support you on your journey. One thing I would advise against is large Facebook groups. These groups open you up to a world of peer-to-peer support, but can leave you open to unnecessary, negative, bullish feedback. Some groups manage to post well, but monitoring of comments is challenging, and as a result, your willingness to seek support can result in some unfiltered criticism from people who don't know you. They're not going to have your best interests at heart, and of course, they're going to be keyboard warriors to a certain extent. So I'm here now talking to you because I got my head together. How long did it take? You know, everyone quotes a quick fix, right? 30 days. Nope. It took me 30 days to find a rhythm that worked. I tested it, perfected it, tore it up, and I started again. The day I admitted how far I'd fallen, I had absolutely no plan and no idea where to start. But I knew I needed to start somewhere. That next morning, I did something simple. It was hard. I got out of bed. No plan, no map, just one idea: walk. It was early. The world was quiet, the kind of quiet that forces you to face the noise in your head. I didn't know what I was doing. I just knew I had to do something. That first day turned into a week. That week turned into a habit. I wasn't fixed, but I was moving. Still though, the voice in my head, it just didn't shut off. You know the one, you screwed it up already. She's watching, don't fail again. You're not enough. That's when I realised something. I wasn't trying to get back to the man I was. I was becoming someone new, and it was going to take real effort. The biggest obstacles were time, getting out of bed and making space for my partner and my kids. But you make it work if you're prepared to take a step. And when you rip off the band-aid, mate, there's nowhere to turn. Early mornings give you something most of us don't have: time. That's it. And what are you really sacrificing? TV? Late night beers? Those first few days were really hard. But what you notice is how quiet the world is at 5 a.m. I've been getting up at 5 a.m. for 5 years straight. This episode was written at 5 a.m. Those early walks I had, there was no plan and no intentions to do anything else at this point. The night before, the darkness had started to lift. And that morning was the first time I'd been able to walk without the weight of the world on my shoulders. I got home, made a coffee, and sat in silence trying to work out my next move. Today, 5 a.m. is exercise, guided journaling and meditation. My non-negotiable though, that's exercise. The biggest shift in my journey was accepting that self-care isn't selfish, it's necessary. I started training again, beach body workouts, early mornings, writing down what I was grateful for. Not because I wanted a six-pack or to be inspirational on Instagram. What I needed was me back. And I had to understand what kind of dad I actually wanted to be. It wasn't about being perfect, it never has. It was about being more present, engaged, focused, and I wrote down questions to keep myself grounded. I'd created this window of opportunity, a small space for me to get ahead of my mind. It was still very much in overdrive. A week passed, I felt better, but not clearer. I still felt very much unable to clear my thoughts. That's when I sat down and I started to write. Not for long, but I needed to get something down on paper, both positive and negative. Today I force the thought process. I journal with prompts. They drive a need to go deeper. Since 2020, I have written 3 million words. 5 ebooks, 10 trainings, almost 100 episodes of a podcast, and countless posts and just random musings. But what keeps me honest, exploring my role as dad, that was the key step. My priorities had changed, but the parts of me that were important to me before my children arrived were still very much there. Whilst I was prepared to make sacrifices, something inside me was telling me that if I sacrificed too much, I'd lose that part of me that got me out of bed. I'd lose that part of me that was having the impact that I wanted to have on my kids. Frankly speaking, a lot of us deprioritise everything the day we become parents. And I include mum in that statement. We believe selflessness will somehow be rewarded. And what we fail to realise is that those things that mattered before baby arrived, they still remain important. And if you cut them out of your life completely, it's only going to lead you to feeling conflicted. Like I said, journaling became a massive thing for me. And I had to find answers to a simple set of questions, and we covered them in the last episode, but we're going to cover them again. That simple set of questions helped me gain a better understanding of the impact I wanted to have on my young family. So, you got to answer these. What are you missing? Is it something that would allow you to build a better connection with your kids? What obstacles are you facing right now in your role, and what impact is it having? What gets you excited? What challenges you to step up and deliver something? What do you want from your role as dad? What do you want for your kids? And importantly, what is it that your kids really need? How is that going to change over time? Look, these questions can help you understand the impact you want to have, but also give you clear insight into what's holding you back and how you want to feel in your role as a dad. There are going to be things you love, things you no longer have time for and wish you could get back, and there are going to be things about you that you wish you could change, but think it's too late. You might remember the 3 questions I posed right at the start. What are my kids really going to remember about me? Am I guiding them or just reacting? What do I need to change so I don't burn out again? What we're searching for is clarity, purpose, direction, love, affection, the motivation to move mountains. And if you answer these questions, then you will understand what they really, really need. Whilst we're all very different in our parenting approach, you can't argue that what your kids need is warmth, love, food, compassion, emotional connection, and guidance from someone prepared for the journey ahead. That's it. Everything else is just noise that you create. As they get older, they will want different things and experiences. They'll still need everything I've just spelled out. A distracted dad, caught in a conflicted state, might not see his role in the same way. Remember, in my own story, fatherhood wasn't the obstacle, I was. A big win for any dad, in my view, is disconnecting from that phone or any technology whilst you're around your kids. A distracted dad, scrolling emails or social media, that isn't going to be engaged, and he isn't listening. Simply put, you're burning time either to focus on you or them. What are you teaching them with that habit? You're teaching them to ignore the world outside and focus on that little device. That stops you connecting, stops you having the impact that you want to have. So if you can, put it to one side, interact at their level. One of those key areas of focus is boundaries. Setting real ones, including putting that phone down when you're with your kids, exercising early so you're not drained later, cut the alcohol midweek, and prioritise real connection. See, the shift wasn't just in me, it was in how they responded. The tantrums hit different when you're calmer. The chaos feels less loud when your head is clear. I found that clarity comes from action, not from thinking your way out. I stopped waiting to feel ready. I chose to act as if I was. I had to get back on track. And I didn't want unnecessary distraction. And when clear on the motivation behind your reason to change, you can tweak and change the things I've talked about to work for you. As a dad, you want time to decompress. The question is whether or not the habits you're using are adding to the problems. Often, they're an escape. And by escaping, you're probably driving a wedge between you, your partner, and your kids. For me, it was about understanding the downstream impact. If I chose to grab a few beers and go to bed late, whilst I felt relaxed at the time, the reality was I would quickly lose patience the following day. As a new dad, as you're wrestling with the challenges of adapting to fatherhood, it's critical, in my view, that you consider the impact of your decision making. Here's what I know now. Getting back on track isn't one moment, it's daily. You lose it sometimes, you drift. But the decision to keep showing up, that's what builds trust with yourself, with your family, with your kids. You do not need to overhaul your life. You need to start, move, pick one thing. Maybe that's sleep, maybe it's cutting the booze, maybe it's walking for 10 minutes without your phone. The key is not to wait until you're falling apart. Do it because you matter. They matter. And there's a version of you that's clearer, calmer, and closer than you think. By losing sight of what really matters and not recognizing the cost of my decisions, I cost myself at least 18 months with my eldest and the earliest days with my youngest. I had a choice that fateful night, but turning to face that challenge was only half the battle. Little did I know that I would have to work this hard to stay on track. It is time to silence your biggest critic. Learn to love the man you are and the father you're becoming. And it's time to reset, push on, and have the impact you want to have on your young family. That question set I shared evolves over time, but reflecting on your role and the impact you have daily is something I urge you to do. It helps you learn from your mistakes. Most importantly of all, it helps you remember the little things. Those things that make you smile, laugh, and dare I say it, cry. I believe embracing change and working at it with intentional effort can make fatherhood even more rewarding. And by embracing change and focusing on what truly matters, you can create a healthier and more fulfilling life for you, your kids, and your partner. Your children do need a strong, resilient, and confident dad. But above all else, they need someone who isn't distracted by the outside world. They need you to love them unconditionally. And they need you to engage in play and creativity. By getting back on track, you have a great chance at guiding them toward their own bright and positive future. Remember, by challenging the status quo and moving beyond the acceptance of your struggle, you initially feel lighter. Your partner, though, not only expects you to find the courage to keep moving forward, she and the kids need you to start finding the solutions to the problems you've allowed to spiral out of control. A brisk walk, nothing more, will help clear your head. Like I said, I felt better, but not clearer. I still felt very much unable to clear my thoughts in the early days. Because your job is to silence your biggest critic, learn to love who you are, the father you're becoming, and at that point, you can reset and push on. Please remember that you're accountable for every thought, action, past and present. Interrupting the way you think and feel starts with that first step. Only then will you move forward. Only then will they see a different version of you. Look, I'm not here to critique or criticise you, okay? I understand what it takes to get back on track. I understand what it takes to stay on track. But I know the pitfalls. And I know there have been times when I've not been on form, that I have failed to keep on top of it all. Why? Because I'm human. My biggest takeaway from everything that I've learned is that you've got to adapt. You've got to find the routine that gives you a rhythm, right? That rhythm helps you have the impact that you want to have. It helps you reflect. Let me be clear. When you start journaling, you start to uncover things that perhaps were hiding, those things that have been holding you back. Fear, anger, frustration, whatever it might be. That job loss, that lack of promotion, the lack of pay, whatever it might be, that colleague that's just a total bellend, right? Those things are creeping into your fatherhood story, but also they're weighing you down. Because if you don't talk about them, or if you don't write this stuff down and you don't process it, how do you expect them to see the best version of you? I have written countless journal entries to the point where it felt repetitive, and that was good. But it didn't progress. I didn't feel like I was moving forward. I felt like I was just in this rhythm of doing it. And it's like exercise, the same thing. It gets repetitive. And then you've got to change it up. You need to challenge yourself. You need to challenge the way you think. You need to challenge how your body reacts to the pressure. So you start with a walk and you grow into exercising 2 or 3 days a week. Then it gets to daily. Then you push to the next level and you're doing marathons or whatever it might be, right? You push yourself because it helps you move forward. But journaling's the same. You start off with, what did I enjoy about today? What made me happy? What impact did I have on my kids today? What was that negative thing that stopped me moving forward today? And how did it impact my relationship with my kids, as an example? But then you start to uncover the deeper meaning. Then you start to understand what's important and why. You set yourself goals. You set yourself targets to achieve, but you also push the boundaries. You start to question how you perform. What's stopping you performing as a dad? And importantly, how can you change it and make a difference? Because our greatest impact is our children. Our legacy is in the future of our children. We have this unique opportunity to shape lives and we have to embrace it. I know some of us struggle. I struggled. But that had nothing to do with being a dad. I was ready to be a dad. I wasn't prepared. I was absolutely ready to be a dad. I love my boys to the end of the world. But there's this raw passion. You want to see them succeed. You want to see them fulfill their potential. And if you do that, then I think you've achieved something in life. But of course, they need to see what you're good at. They need to see you on form. They need to see you operating at a good level. They need to see clear-headed, clear of mind, clear of thought. They need you to understand what motivates you. And the great thing about having kids is it motivates you to do something different. But when we're in the darkness and we can't see that light, we need to claw our way back. We need to interrupt the cycle of negativity so that we can begin to move forward. Because the acceptance, then the admission, then it's about taking action. Then it's staying accountable and setting new expectations. And then it's about moving forward step by step. We're not talking leaps, we're talking step by step by step. Because you can rediscover the man you were destined to be, the dad they need you to be. And that's why the Modern Fatherhood Club exists. That's why this podcast exists. It's to help you on your journey. It's to help you uncover the things perhaps that are holding you back. It's not to say that you're a bad dad. It's to encourage you to make the changes that are necessary to lead from the front, to guide and lead by example, to teach them how to recover from setback, how to set goals and exceed their own expectations. But above all else, it's to help you find what makes you happy, what motivates you, because if you're happy and you're smiling and you're engaged and you're present, they feel it. And that's the impact that we all want to have. Thank you so much for listening. This is Fatherhood in Focus. I'm Aidan, the founder of the Modern Fatherhood Club. We have plenty of resources on the modernfatherhoodclub.com. We have the New Dad Recharge that is there to help you understand the impact that you want to have. We break it down into modules so that you can focus on where you are, where you want to be, and ultimately the legacy that you want to leave. The legacy you want to leave. So if you're interested, check out the website, check out the New Dad Recharge. The Fatherhood Unleashed is also available, and for a limited time only, it is included in the £49 price for the New Dad Recharge. So I'm excited to have you on board. I'm excited to have you here today. Thank you so much for listening. I appreciate you. I appreciate the work you're putting in. For any support, please message the Modern Fatherhood Club. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you soon.